What's going on, everybody? Now, I know that I didn't fully enjoy the game. I was kind of bored by it, and I was talking about the base game. After you finish it, there's a bit of a learning curve, and it gets better. Now, I'm not saying the learning curve is the most fun you'll have with a platformer, but there aren't a lot of platformers we can compare to besides Mario. And I'm not saying I had a blast with all these extras that I'm about to share, but there are some good aspects to Sonic Forces. Also, not recommending that you spend $40 on it, but seeing as the prices are starting to drop already, you should probably wait until it hits the $20 mark. Because there's a lot to be had in Sonic Forces, regardless of the dry storyline or sometimes uninteresting stages. Now, like I said with the learning curve, this Sonic game plays a little differently than the other 2D slash 3D Sonic titles. Sonic's jump is a bit weird at first, but after getting used to it, I learned that there are some obstacles you have to stay back for. There are lasers in some stages that you have to hide behind some platforms, so you would jump forward, but the jump is kind of delayed in some way. I guess the momentum of the jump is delayed, but after that delay, it kind of pushes you forward. In the middle of that delay, you have the option of going back from where you jumped from, and I think that's a clever way to think about where you're going to go with that jump. But in the base game, that kind of jump system doesn't exactly work. Only until you've beaten the game and you've unlocked more challenges and extra stages, that's when it really starts to come in use. Because the platforming gets more complex when you start unlocking special and extra stages. And also, some stages have multiple paths. Sometimes those paths will be a use to you, and sometimes they won't. But after you finish it, and you have all these extra stages and SOS missions, you'll find a use for these seemingly useless multiple paths. Just like with Sonic Adventure 2, when you're looking for the Chow, you'll start to notice all these extra details that you never noticed before. And there were entire paths revealed to me in Sonic Forces that I never noticed before or cared about because I didn't really have any use for them, lending to the fact that you don't get any extra lives because there are infinite lives in this. So the extra paths are mainly for the extra and SOS missions. Besides those missions that you can unlock, there are also unlockable wisps with different effects. And some effects are bad, like the land and speed effect that I mentioned in the review. But some are pretty good, like the stomp and speed effect. As in, after you stomp and go, your speed drastically accelerates. By triggering that effect, it's a lot better. That landing and speed effect seems to be for speedrunners. I really can't get a handle on it, but I'm pretty sure if you're skilled enough and you have fast enough reflexes, you can find a use for those landing and speed effects. Besides that, there are also a plethora of effects that come with your Wispins. There are about 6 or 7, maybe 8 Wispins, because you continuously unlock different Wispins when you get medals, and also when you complete SOS missions. Some effects can give you 5 rings when you reach a checkpoint, some can speed up the OC's homing attack, and there are so many other effects you can get with these Wispins. And to unlock them, you have to get collectibles like red rings, point rings, I guess that's what they're called, and moon medals. And these are kind of fun to get. The moon medals, though, on the Switch version anyway, it's kind of hard to see. But you mostly have to get the moon medals by boosting through the stage because they disappear at a certain time. While the point medals, you can only get in order. And of course, the red rings you could get in any order at any time. So it kind of goes from easy to hard. And these are in every single stage besides boss battles and any extra stage. And that's another positive. Most of these collectibles you'll start noticing after you beat the game, or maybe you're a completionist and you collect them before, but it can really add on to your hours. And it's a little satisfying because there are, like I said, collectibles. Every time you get these medals and complete a certain task, you'll get even more customizations for your OC, and these customizations are pretty cool, especially for fans. There's some Knuckles shirts, Silver shirts, or Amy or Emerald shirts that you can get. There are even costumes of different characters. Like at some point I actually got Shadow's sneakers and I love those more than Sonic's, and I was actually excited to get that. All of these little moments made it feel better. But overall, the experience feels well polished. It's not terrible. It looks great. Graphically, it looks amazing, especially on the PS4 and Xbox One or PC. And I was impressed with the Switch version as well. That's what they seem to do instead of making the game more exciting or cater to players. The development team just put in a bunch of extras, and they're good extras and customizations, and they just made the game very well polished. Now, that kind of standard at least deserves a 6 from me, and that's why I gave it a 6 because it wasn't a very exciting time. But the extras were challenging, unlike the base game, and the game is well polished. I didn't go through any floors, there weren't any glitches, the game looks good. So if you're playing Sonic game for the first time, most likely you're going to like this game. But then again, the general consensus of not being excited or interested in this game might come to play. But that's when I recommend that you play the side missions. They add more challenge and more variation. And also, customizing the OC is always fun, no matter who you are. Everybody's had a good time with customizing the OC characters. And after you're even done with that okay storyline, there's still so much to do. There's a lot of missions. There's actually a decent amount of daily missions and unlocks. And you'll continue to unlock these extra missions when you complete a certain amount of daily missions. And these daily missions can consist of anything from being collect a certain amount of rings and finish the stage, or trip a certain amount of characters. It's very specific things. It's like achievements in this. But they always change and they're consistent. And through the extra missions, SOS, and all of these other different options to go by, this system works cleverly. And most of the time, these missions are satisfying when you do beat them. It requires some patience sometimes to understand the stage and understand what the stage wants from you. But when you're finished with it, it's decently satisfying. Now granted, I played a lot more difficult platformers than this, but like I said, if you're new to it, you'll most likely find these very satisfying and sometimes challenging. But I did get a lot more than I thought I would. And besides, there's more free DLCs coming, or that's what Sega says anyway. So we're gonna get apparently the Supersonic later on. There was a patch to support Supersonic, but he's not available right now, which is why I was doing a bunch of extra missions to see if I can unlock a Chaos Emerald or something. So there is more coming to this game to add another layer to it. And that's the cool part about this. There are different layers to Sonic Forces. And I especially like the fact that you can play as Sonic or Shadow in either stage. Now, Shadow doesn't have different effects. You know, he doesn't have Chaos Control or anything like that. But he does have different animations, different voice. In some stages where Sonic talks, I guess you just won't hear Shadow say anything. So he doesn't really lend anything in that regard. But it is very cool that you can play with Sonic or Shadow for all of Sonic stages. I haven't tried him in a boss battle, though. I don't think you can play as Shadow in a boss battle because some of the animations are only Sonic. All we need now is Supersonic, and this will be a decent Sonic game. I mean, it's not bad, and it's not very good. We've seen everything before that's featured in this game, and sometimes they pull some really shady things, but I do think there's more to it. In fact, the mission select reminds me of Sonic Adventure 2's mission select, and the SOS missions remind me of the Chow missions. So it's a really good callback that they make with some of these extras, and I appreciated it. I saw the resemblance between them, and I saw what kind of thought they put into it. So just wanted to share really quick the positives of Sonic Forces. It's not all bad, and those are the things I liked about it. And of course, some of the stages are very good, like I said before, but just wanted to share any extra positive opinions I had about this. And I'll definitely be waiting for the Supersonic DLC and other DLCs that they have to share. Won't promise that I'll pay for it, but if they hand out a free one, I'll play it. Because what choice do I have, right? I paid $40 for this thing. But like I said, at $20, it's definitely worth it, considering all this extra content you get. It's decent. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one, guys. Later.